What if the first night humans walked the earth was also the night we almost vanished forever? This isn't myth, it's a forgotten truth buried in bones, ash, and terror. Welcome to humanity's darkest beginning, long before cities, fire, or even names. A fragile new species emerged under a blood-red sky. We weren't the strongest or the fastest, just different, and that difference almost got us wiped from existence. Before we revealed the night, our species was nearly erased forever. Hit that subscribe button, like, and press the bell icon, because this is a story no history book dares to tell you. It begins in East Africa, a mother cradling her child beside a dying fire. She's not alone. Around her, strange eyes blink in the dark. Predators, shadows. The wild was not made for us. These early humans didn't have tools or language. They had fear and instinct. And on that first night, survival wasn't just about food. It was about hiding, listening, and praying the dark didn't move. We were outnumbered. Saber-tooths, giant hyenas, venomous snakes. The earth back then didn't want us here. And honestly, it almost got its wish. Whole clans disappeared before the sun even rose again. But something happened in that terror. Something no other animal did. We remembered faces, sounds, places. Fear didn't just break us. It wired us, built our brains. And from fear came thinking. One child survived that first horror-filled night. And he began to draw, not on walls, but in his mind. He remembered the path his mother ran, the cave she found, and he shared it. That was the beginning of storytelling. Memory as a weapon. Not claws, not strength, but the ability to warn, to teach, to plan. The ones who listened, lived. The ones who didn't, gone. In that world, silence was survival. But whispers became strategy. We weren't the apex predator. We were the prey that refused to die. We became ghosts in the tall grass, watching, learning, waiting. As night returned the next day, we were ready. A stick became a spear, a spark became a flame, and fire changed everything. It didn't just cook food. It scared the darkness back. Around fire, we grew closer. Not just in body, but mind. Faces began to hold meaning. Laughter flickered between shadows. Grief and love were born. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were becoming something else. But Earth wasn't done testing us. A massive volcanic winter hit. Ash covered the sky. Plants died. Water vanished. Our numbers dropped. Some say to less than 2,000 humans on the whole planet. Think about that. A single village worth of people carrying the entire future of humanity. One wrong turn, one more predator, and it would have ended right there. We were a whisper away from extinction, but even in volcanic ash, we adapted. New ways to track, to trap, to survive. And somehow, we kept going. Because inside us burned something stronger than fear. The will to remember. They huddled close that night, beneath a blood-red moon, knowing the forest no longer obeyed their rules. Eyes watched from the darkness, eyes not of man, but beast. And yet not fully beast either. The fire they lit was more than warmth, it was rebellion. A declaration that they would not go quietly into extinction. But nature does not negotiate. And that night, nature was crueler than ever. As lightning struck a tree nearby, shadows danced like ghosts on the cave wall. A newborn cried, the first of its kind. Humanity weak, soft, vulnerable had arrived. But its welcome party was already hunting. A saber-toothed predator approached silently, fangs gleaming with prehistoric malice. The men had only spears, made of bone. The odds, impossible. But history has never been fair, it only favors the bold. One hunter stepped forward. His heart thundered, but his grip held firm. He knew, if they failed here, it was over. Not just for them, but for every version of us that would follow. In that frozen second, it was man versus monster, instinct against instinct. But this wasn't about muscles. It was about memory, about fire, about future. And with one precise strike, he made history bleed. The beast fell. Silence returned. But it wasn't victory, it was a warning. Survival wasn't a gift. It was a contract, a fragile thread that could snap at any moment. And they knew it. Later that night, as embers glowed, the elders whispered legends that hadn't happened yet. They spoke of cities, stars, gods. They had no idea how much suffering lay ahead to earn it all. Famine, floods, volcanoes. Even the sky would turn on them. One child would become a tribe, one tribe a war, and still, death would chase them. With every step, no paradise waited, only survival. But here's the twist. That single night of blood and fear was the very moment humanity began. The danger wasn't the end. It was the fire that forged something new, something terrifyingly persistent. Bones would be buried, names forgotten. But the will to live, that defiant spark, was passed on, and it's in you right now. The heartbeat that won't quit, the rage to rise again. So when you look in the mirror, remember this. You are the descendant of the night the world tried to erase us, and failed. That fear in your chest, it's ancient, but it listens. It listens to courage, to the whisper that says, I will not die today. That's the legacy we carry yet, not in stone, but in survival, in scars, in memory that outlasted monsters. We weren't born to win. We were born to try, to climb when falling feels easier, to love when loss seems certain. That's what makes us human, not dominance, but defiance. So the next time you feel small, broken, lost, remember, your ancestors lit fire against darkness. And that fire, no matter how dim, still burns. In you. In us all. That's where this story ends. The night sky wasn't peaceful, it pulsed with the sound of predators and the cries of those taken. Each sound carved fear into memory. For early humans, darkness meant more than night, it meant war for survival. They couldn't build walls. They couldn't even speak in full sentences. But what they had was instinct. And fear, a raw, primal fear that forced them to move, hide, adapt, whatever it took to see sunrise. Huddled in silence, they clung to fire like it was a god, and maybe, in that moment, it was. Flames kept the darkness back, but it also drew eyes, glowing eyes that watched, that waited. One mistake, one loud cough, one spark to foreign death would leap from the shadows. Survival wasn't luck. It was terror, tension, and timing. A heartbeat too slow, and you became part of the dirt. But then something shifted. A strange glimmer behind their eyes. Not just reaction, but calculation, patterns, memory. For the first time, survival wasn't just instinct. It was thinking, planning. The birth of what we call human. She was the first. A mother who didn't just run, she returned. Dug a pit, set a trap, fed her child not from gathered roots, but from captured prey. For the first time, a strategy. That moment was a spark, not just of fire, but of thought, and it spread. Ideas jumped from mind to mind, like embers on dry leaves. Tools weren't just used, they were improved, sharpened, passed on. Yet, nature didn't care. Intelligence didn't make you immune. Volcanoes still erupted, storms still came, and diseases, those silent killers, wiped out entire clans before the sun could rise twice. It was genius versus extinction. Even as their minds evolved, their numbers shrank. A genetic bottleneck, maybe 10,000 of us left. All of humanity hanging by a thread. One storm, one predator, one virus away from permanent. But they didn't stop. Something pushed them forwards, some unknowable force buried deep inside. Not hope, not faith, just a refusal to vanish. A rebellion against nothingness, a scream into the abyss. We exist, and that rebellion worked. Slowly, painfully, they learned to control the flame, to craft blades, to bury the dead, to tell stories with paint and bone. Humanity clawed its way up from the brink. Every step forward cost blood. Every mistake burned generations. But the survivors became ancestors. Their stories echo in our cells. Their courage carved the blueprint of your body, your fears, your instincts, your dreams. You carry them inside you. The rage of the hunted, the spark of the fire stealer, the memory of loss and the drive to build what they never could. You are their revenge on extinction, so the next time you feel weak, small, or forgotten, remember, you're the result of 1,000 battles. You come from the ones who never gave up, even when the sky fell and the world burned, and maybe, just maybe, we weren't meant to survive that night. Maybe our birth was a mistake nature tried to erase, but we stayed, we endured, and we told stories like this one to remember why. The rain stopped, the fire flickered, and for a moment, the earth stood still. One child, one spark. That was the thread between survival and extinction. A saber-toothed cry echoed. The tribe froze. If one moved, they all died. This wasn't drama. This was life for our first ancestors. Survival meant silence, stillness, surrender. A shadow approached, not human, not beast, something in between, something ancient, something forgotten. Was it a predator or a missing link? The elders whispered of the night beings, creatures of mist and memory. That night they came, and what they took changed humanity forever. A single survivor limped into the cave at dawn, bloodied, eyes wide. He saw what no one else did. He knew humanity wasn't alone. No one believed him. Until the baby in the tribe opened its eyes, and they were glowing like the thing in the forest. Fear spread like fire. Some said curse, others said evolution, but all agreed nothing would be the same after that night. That child grew fast, too fast, and different. She spoke before she walked. She remembered things from before she was born. The tribe split. Half feared her, half worshipped her. Was she the future? A warning. One old man saw a symbol on her arm, the same one etched in stone in the mountain caves, 100,000 years old. The girl pointed to the sky. They'll return, she whispered. Not for me, for all of you. Years passed. The fires burned low. And one night the stars fell again. But this time, they came with sound, trembling earth, screaming wind, and the sky cracked open. Night. Humanity either ended, or began again. The records were lost. The stories twisted. But in the ashes, something new walked, and that's how humanity was born, and almost died, the same night. Now ask yourself, how many times has this happened before? Like, subscribe, share. Something was watching. This was only the beginning. Next episode, The Hunters of the Dark, coming soon.